All right. So, may I, Jimmy? Can I change the graphic?
Yeah, we're good now. I wanted to get that off my chest.
Read it right there. 76ers to hire Daryl Morey to run their basketball operations. It says it right here. How about that? That was a bit of a – I mean, I know people were wondering what was going to happen when Morey left the Hornets. I didn't think this would happen this quickly. This makes sense. But really interesting move here by Philly. And I think if you're a Boston fan, it's definitely going to worry you a little bit, because now you feel like this organization that has had the talent and had the pieces and had the assets all this time was just run poorly. And now you've got somebody who might be able to move the pieces around, build the team, and be competitive here after the absolute dumpster fire that we saw in Philly last year and into the playoffs. And
really over the last
let's get initial reactions here to the Morey signing. And again, I know immediately people are going to wonder what it means for the future of Embiid and Simmons. We'll kick that around. But first things first, just what do you guys think? What was your first thought? Jimmy, start with you.
My first thought was Elton Brand has been completely cucked. He didn't even lose his job. He just had to hand it over to somebody who was going to do it better than him and just kind of like watch while it happens. My second thought was what's going to happen to either Embiid or Simmons, because those are the two guys that when the Sixers no-showed in the playoffs, everyone said, the Sixers have to blow it up. One of these guys has to go. And I think we pretty much said they can't trade either of those guys because the value is just not – they're not going to get anything close to what they should in return. So I'm very interested to see what Morey has in plan for those two, or if he has a plan for those two. Maybe one is favored over the other. I know he's just a bit of a small ball guy, so I wonder how that's going to play. But yeah, I think if you're the Celtics, your antennas are up. Put it that way. They're a lot higher than they were prior to this signing, because Daryl Morey is a very smart basketball mind, and like you said, John, he can sort of bring some stability, maybe some leadership over to that organization, and get them going in the right direction.
It's an interesting pair.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, but I don't know if we can just jump to the assumption that this is gonna turn into a team with a bunch of shooters, at least not right away. I think he's gonna work with Doc Rivers a bit. I thought it was interesting that the hiring of Doc Rivers came first before this.
Right.
And
normally, right.
You pick your coach, and I think moving forward, Doc Rivers, I don't know, something tells me that they're gonna have to blow this thing up. I mean, I think Doc Rivers had Ben Simmons in mind. I think they had a big part of his decision to go over there. I think he wants to mentor him. Doc's a big point guard guy, superstar point guards. He loves them. I think this is sort of his next challenge, his next project, years removed from Chris Paul. And then now you look at what's going to happen next. Do you move Embiid? I would try to move Embiid. I know some people don't want to hear that, but I think you have to split these two. It's not going to work out. And because of the restrictions you have on the cap, you sort of have to make a move here and do something drastic. One move, if you're looking drastic, if you're thinking big picture here, I mean, just because of who Doc is and the kind of team he had in LA, what happens if they decide to trade for someone like Gobert? Does that change things? Take a small step back before you take a step forward. Now, Gobert's bird rights would go with him. You can bring him back. You send over Embiid, which would give the Denver Nuggets someone that can compete against Jokic. Maybe that gets them over. Because obviously the Denver Nuggets were in their way. And maybe moving forward, the Philadelphia 76ers can have that space and then move Al Horford. That's the goal here. If I'm Doc, I'm trying to move him. Maybe not this year or next year, but you have to get from under that contract, get some expiring deals into the picture, and then moving forward, you can try to grab some big free agents. I think they have to take a step back a bit before they can truly go forward.
I'm with you, Josue, because Doc and Daryl don't seem like a match made in heaven, especially the way they typically run their systems. Doc's more old school. Daryl's on that new wave. He created the new wave. So I do think he's going to be trying to fix this roster gradually, and that could start immediately with an Embiid trade. And when it comes to Simmons and Embiid, it's got to be Embiid. He's older. He's who he is. Simmons ultimately has the long-term potential to be one of the best players in this league. Embiid's there now, and I think he is who he is. So I'm a little worried.
He is who he is. He's a stud, though. When he's got his head in the game, he's a stud.
Yeah, but for what a center can be in today's league, I just don't see Daryl going forward with a star center. And again,
Embiid in the bubble, I don't know, man. Doc's not about that.
Yeah. So Doc's going to try to make it work in the time being. I just think Daryl's going to have some bigger plans long term, get the draft capital up, try to position themselves for a big trade like he did with James Harden in the past. And in the meantime, maybe bring in some shooters and get this closer to being an operation to what he had in Houston.
And that's what I think. I think anything and everything you can do to get out from Horford is job one if you can. The problem.
Call New York.
That's job one. And if you can do that, I think Simmons and Embiid can coexist. I think that is an overplayed narrative that the two absolutely can't coexist together. I think they absolutely can if you surround them with shooters. They just didn't surround them with shooters this year. Right. And I think that's what Morey's good at and going to do. I do have to look at it. If you did have to, if they were on an island and he's got to pick one to go with and one to leave behind, I can't see Simmons being the guy he sticks with for being a guy who likes to spread the floor and shoot a lot of threes and have a guy that is literally petrified of the three-point line.
Yeah, but name another point guard who's better at getting three-point shots, though. You know,
how many games is Daryl Morey?
Doc Rivers is going to get him to shoot too. I'm not saying he's going to turn into Steph Curry, but he has to shoot. Doc's going to make him shoot.
He did it with Rondo. Not do it.
Daryl Morey.
That mid range. Look, Rondo did it. It was ugly, but Rondo had to do it. He had to.
He's going to last one quarter in this position on the Sixers if Ben Simmons doesn't start taking 3-pointers. That's literally what Daryl Morey is. He's literally that's literally all he wants.
It's going to be like the Austin Powers fembots, you know, like it's just heads going.
Ben Simmons, his
one
head
of them is going to explode. Watching one quarter of Simmons, but we said he was going to shoot. Like he's not going to be able to handle it.
When Ben Simmons saw the news today,
boom, you know,
Ben Simmons looking at his phone, seeing that Daryl Morey is the new president of basketball.
Yeah, right.
Right.
He's going to literally text 29 GMs in the first quarter of the first game.
Yeah.
This dude needs to come out in the first game of the season and just start ripping 3-pointers. It doesn't matter if he misses all 10. Really, it doesn't matter. Just take them. Just get it in, get in the flow of it. That's going to be Daryl Morey's message, I would imagine, before he even says hello. He's probably already texting Ben Simmons about that right now.
It's amazing, though. On a separate note, it is amazing because, like, you know, if you had a child, like, this is like if you have a child and you're like, you have to do this or else I'm not going to let you play. Like, you have to do this thing. You know, like,
yeah.
And do your chores. That's what Doc's doing.
And they still don't do it. It's like, how many times did Brett Brown say, like, we talked about it and it's going to happen? And then, like,
does Doc speak a different language? What's he gonna do to do anything different?
Again, to use my crappy analogies, you know, like every time Willie Mays Hayes popped one up in Major League, they made him do 20 push-ups. Like literally in the preseason, I would tell Ben Simmons, you can only shoot 3-pointers. And if you do anything other than shoot a 3-pointer, I'm going to take you out of the game. You know, like
laps.
That's it. Laps, doesn't matter. Push-ups, just
suicides.
Something. It's amazing. He won't do it. He can't do it.
Yeah, it feels like Philly's throwing darts around here when you think of the combination of some of these guys. Let's get the best coaching name we can see in Doc. Let's get the best GM name we can in Morey. And then they take a Pacers assistant who's known for his drop defense, and we saw how that drop defense looked last year. So you have 3 conflicting personalities there ultimately. So I'm interested to see how this is going to shake out. I also think it's interesting that Doc said he was going to take some time off. Morey said he was going to take some time off, and then they both get these hefty deals from Philly. I mean, this could be these guys cashing in as much as anything for Philly getting it on the other end.
It's a reasonable point.
Yeah.
I think Doc was kind of like, I guess I'll coach.
Yeah,
you know?
And Morey too. Like, well, maybe I'll go fix Philly. Like that doesn't sound fun to me.
The Morey news came out of nowhere when he left Houston. And he's like, oh, like my son just graduated high school. It's a good time to like reassess like what we're gonna do. It's like packing up the car, moving to Philadelphia, like 2 weeks later. It's like kind of unreal. But yeah, you're right, Bobby.
Got a brand new intern. It's my son. Yeah.
Yeah, plenty of incentive, I guess, to do that. I mean,
Philly.
Listen, I can't help but think that both Doc and Daryl Morey didn't take the job because of the potential upside there. And that upside is with Embiid and Simmons. So I can't imagine they're all thinking, how can we blow this team up, right, and start over? You think Doc Rivers wants to go and do a rebuild. We know for a fact that he doesn't want to do that. So
Yeah.
you can't tell me that they're trying to get rid of one or the other right now.
They're gonna give it a chance. They're gonna give it a chance before they do anything.
If you're Philly, you're hoping New York strikes out completely, and they're like, look,
Dude,
we'll get a veteran presence in here. Here's Julius Randle. Here's Wayne Ellington. Don't worry, both their contracts are going to expire in a year. You'll have fun.
Josue is trying to kill every last New Yorker left in the city with either Al Horford and Gordon Hayward.
They'll get Marcus Morris again too.
He wants the Knicks to acquire both.
It'll be hilarious. Come on, Jimmy. Every time they play the Celtics, like, oh look, it's our old buddy. Hey, reunion time.
Wait, where's Marcus Morris going?
I am
I'll tell you
curious
what.
though. When we talk about Morey, and being the kind of the grandfather, the father of the new modern NBA sort of thing, how much of that do you think is based on the talent that he already had in place, and how much of it was insisting that this is a system and then getting that talent? I mean, like if you've got Harden, that's what you got to do. So, do you think he's insistent on having this thing? Do the Sixers have to be a team that jacks 53s a game?
I think so. I think that's part of the puzzle here. He was sort of determined to get that out. That's his MO. He's determined that this can be championship basketball, and he won't let it go. So I think there'll be a mix of things. Him and the way he does things, the way Doc does things. But I do think Ben Simmons, just the ability that he's able to create so many 3-pointers, I think that's something that's been talked about heavily between those two guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see.
And the Houston thing they did last year, I thought that was an anomaly. He'll make it work with an Embiid if he has to. So yeah, that Houston situation was awkward. I just think that you had Russell Westbrook, he couldn't shoot threes. You had a hurt center, so they downsized as much as they could and made the best of that situation. And he'll have to do that here too, because it's not like they're gonna put 4 elite 3-point shooters on the floor around Simmons day one. Like they're gonna have to work within the constraints of the roster somewhat until a deal comes down the line.
Yeah. Well, I feel like after Chris Paul, they were sort of just guessing in Houston.
Right. I mean, and that Westbrook thing got shoved. That Westbrook thing got shoved onto him by James Harden, and what a disaster it was.
Hey,
one of the worst trades ever.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Westbrook was completely lost in the playoffs by the end. I mean, he couldn't even hit a free throw.
Yeah, possibly due to COVID. We'll see. But yeah, he was.